Councillor McCann? Yeah. We'll bring the meeting to order. So, it was moved by Councillor Borneman, seconded by Councillor McCann, that pursuant to Section 239(2) and 3 of the Municipal Act, SO 2001 C25 as amended, Council of the Corporation, the Town of Parry Sound moves to a meeting closed to the public in order to address matters pertaining to B, personnel matter about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, as a planning matter, and board appointments. And that was carried for a closed session. Okay, are there any additions or prioritization of the agenda? Seeing none, mover and seconder for the agenda, please. Councillor McCann, Councillor Borneman. The council agenda for February 19th, 2019 be approved as circulated. All in favor? That's carried. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none, mover and seconder for the minutes, please. Councillor Backman and Councillor Borneman. Minutes from the regular council meeting held February 5th, 2019 be approved as circulated. Any discussion on those minutes? All in favor? That's carried. Questions of staff? Councillor Keith and then Councillor Camp.
Yes, just one question of Mr. Brown, please. The question, Mr. Brown, is, and I realize that town staff has been really busy trying to clear streets and combat the snow, but now with combating the snow, there's the issue of holes in the pavement. What is being done there as the undercarriage of cars don't take well to it?
Through your worship, the as you indicated, Councillor Keith, the staff have been out snow plowing as recently as Saturday. With the snow gone and the asphalt clearing up, getting clear, we've noticed that there is some significant increase in potholes. Basically because of the freeze-thaw cycle that we're experiencing, and we'll be experiencing more of that as time goes on. But having said that, our staff will be out starting tomorrow morning repairing the potholes with our asphalt patching machine. We actually may be able to get to one or two tonight on our night crew. The one at the intersection of Seguin and James is to a bit of a priority for us, so we hopefully will be doing that tonight. But as long as it doesn't snow, we'll be out there hopefully every day filling potholes.
Thank you. Councillor McCann.
Thank you. This is for Christine Gilbert. Christine, you've got a lot on your plate. You're a very busy person, and I was just wondering where things are sitting right now in terms of getting the budget together for 2019.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I believe that Clayton Harris would like to field the budget question.
Through the chair, I'll respond to that. A couple of things. Obviously, there's the absence of the Director of Finance, which has obviously impacted the timing of the budget, but also it's an election year, and so we've got new members of council. We're probably going to be positioned to set some dates, I would say, anticipate in March or early April. This week, the senior staff and Christine and I are going through the budget, operating and capital, a line-by-line basis. Also on Friday morning, we've got a strategic management session with the managers and directors in the town, just looking at the plan that council has and whether from a staff perspective there's gaps or changes we'd like to have, because that, if the plan is changed or amended by either staff or anything that council may want to add because there's new members of council, that'll have budget implications potentially. So that's the process, and we expect to have probably late March, early April.
Thanks very much. It seems like the end of a term, a council term, is like a speed bump along the road. It's time to slow down. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions of staff? Seeing none, correspondence, Ms. Johnson.
Thank you, Your Worship. There are 4 items of correspondence. The first is from Marion Cross regarding the town's recycling policy at the Bob York Community Centre. question about that policy. This letter was copied to Mayor and Council and referred to the Manager of Parks and Recreation for follow-up. A letter from Georgian Bay Forever. They're requesting a partnership support, so to speak, regarding the Divert and Capture program, which is the fight to keep microplastics out of our water. This letter was copied to Mayor and Council, and additionally, Georgian Bay Forever's request for support in getting Parry Sound resident volunteers to participate by agreeing to have filters installed on their washing machines to capture and divert microplastics in a test move has been circulated amongst staff and sent to other large employers in the area. Third item is from Chris Cardy. It is Rotary Splash Pad Positive Supporters Advocacy to install the splash pad. This letter was copied to Mayor and Council and referred to the Manager of Parks and Recreation for follow-up. And the final letter is from Anna May Gillingham regarding concerns about sidewalk conditions, particularly on William Street. This letter was copied to Mayor and Council and referred to the Director of Public Works for follow-up.
Okay, thank you. Just on the note of the one about the microplastics and microfibers in the water, I received a letter from Great Lakes Cities Initiative that wanted to know if I could speak at their conference in June, and I'm already committed to another event. So I sent it to Mr. Brown to see if Mr. Brown was able to go. It is out of the country in the United States, so I've asked him if he was willing to do that and certainly bring it forward to council because it is out of the country. So, but it would certainly be an opportunity for Parry Sound to make a presentation or be part of that particular organization. So something to think about when it comes up. Okay. So we now come to the deputations and presentations portion of tonight's council meeting. I'd like to remind deputations here tonight they have a maximum of 10 minutes each, including questions of clarification from council. Deputations are subject to the same rules of conduct as of council in that no one shall speak disrespectfully or use offensive words or insulting expression against any member of council, staff, or another member of the public. And so our first deputation tonight is Mayor Ted Kremiski in the town of Ingersoll. And welcome to Parry Sound. Now, I'm not sure what all's on that one. There's a button on the side that needs the microphone that needs to be pushed in, and then the one on the front. You're good to go now. Yep.
Good evening, Mayor McGarvey and council, certainly staff, and the gallery. It's nice to hear that as a mayor of the town of Ingersoll that potholes in the roads and taxes and sidewalks are universal issues. And we all have them, and we all deal with them. My name is Ted Kremiski. I'm the mayor of Ingersoll, councillor for the county of Oxford, and also chair of Demand the Right Coalition for municipalities. Just make sure I have this correct. The Environmental Minister of Ontario in 2017, he said we have a garbage problem, and he's absolutely right. The key generators are the ICI sector, which is industrial, commercial, and institutional, particularly in Toronto. With Toronto only having a 15% diversion rate, 6.7 million ton per year go to landfill, and space is running out. A future home for Toronto's garbage will be created somewhere in Ontario. Private waste companies are identifying and targeting municipalities, especially small municipalities, as potential sites. You heard me right, with a 6.7 million ton. That's enough to fill the Rogers Centre 75 times over. 90% of this is all controlled by the private sector. Your town, and the same as Ingersoll and the same as every other town, has private companies that deal with most of your industrial, commercial, and institutional. And you have no idea where it goes. We don't. If you have a construction company down the road and they hire a group to get rid of their waste, it is taken to a landfill, but you don't know where that landfill is. You don't have to know. It's taken to wherever the cheapest dropping charges are. It could be packed together, compressed, and taken over to the States, wherever they could dispose of it. In 2012, I was sitting at my office, and I was asked if I could speak with a group, environmental group, and I said, most certainly. I went into the chambers, and Walker Environmental brought it to my attention that they plan to bring 18 million ton of Toronto and Greater Toronto waste to a quarry that is 800 meters from our subdivision. It is not in the township or the town of Ingersoll itself, but in the township of Zora, which the boundary line is right in between, which is 800 meters away. Well, after I picked up my jaw off the table, certainly, what do I do about it? What's happening here? How can this possibly be without somebody talking with us prior to identifying this and asking us whether we have any concerns? Right now, there is no format. There is no plan. The approval process is a company can join with themselves or with another private company, look at a pit that is close either by Parry Sound or by Ingersoll or whatever. They can group together and say, we would like to dispose of our waste. You have a hole, we have something to fill it with. And so all they have to do now, not all, but the point is that they don't go to the municipalities. They go directly to the ministry and say, this is what we would like to do. The ministry says, okay, fine, that's great. You have to go through the process, and here's the package, and here's the process. The process is environmental assessments. You have to do environmental assessments on all the area. You have to have a term of reference, which is a list of tests that have to take place, and you have to process those tests. You have to have the science behind it, and then you bring it back to us, and we will approve or disapprove. But at no time in that process is the municipality asked whether they want it or not. There is no requirement for a community to be a willing host, no requirement for a municipal approval whatsoever. What good is a consultation if the private sector operator can go ahead and create a new landfill without local approval? Municipalities should be given the right to approve landfill projects in their communities. First, it should have a process. If it's a two-part, if it's a two-tier, it should be successful completion of the MOECC process, which is the environmental assessments, and then both tiers should be asked. If either one of those tiers say no, then it should be dropped. Understanding that at no time can a community say that they want it. You have 18 million ton of waste going into a pit beside a community that has wells, beside a community that has the Thames River that flows through Woodstock, Ingersoll, going right on to London. That is not a concern, it's the environmental assessments. Science will say whether that can happen. One of the big comments I made is that we're on well water. What about contamination? And the answer with science is, we'll drill you a new one. And we can drill it lower or we can drill it higher, and the contamination will only be on one level if it happens, and we can go below it or above it. What happens to the stress factor of your community? Quite often I speak on the subject of the landfill because it's been haunting my mayorship for 7 years now. This is my third term, and it hasn't gone away yet. I have, is that my ding?
No.
Okay. No. I thought the My time was up or the chicken was done. I'm not sure.
We don't have a dinger yet.
and I have one of the big things was a little lady came up to me and says, Teddy, I've known you for years. She says, will you please tell me when I quit drinking the water? You know, and I say, you can always drink the water. I'll make sure that what you're drinking is okay. But the stress level involved with this is phenomenal. Understand that this motion that we're putting through, that you have seen as councillors, is not to say no to landfills. Make sure that's an important factor. We're not asking you to move a motion to say no to landfills. We're asking you to take a motion that says you have the right, as a municipality, to say no to landfills. If you want a landfill, that is Parry Sound's business. If you don't want it, you should have the right to say no. People say, what'll happen if you say, if you have the right to say no to landfills? Then you'll never have a landfill again. Well, that's not true. We know that because the nuclear waste, while some municipalities have absolutely said no to being permanent hosts to Ontario's nuclear waste, 27 municipalities have actually said yes, that they will accept nuclear waste. It's down to 3 now, I think, as far as approval goes on where that nuclear waste will go. So if you're not concerned about nuclear waste, you're sure not worried about garbage. And there's money in garbage. So if you want to talk to people of Walker Environmental or any other group that wants to build there's money into it. But you have to take the circumstances that fold under it. Casino and gaming. If you want to have a casino in your municipality asks you. Because there are some municipalities that feel that the value of their community does not warrant a casino. It would be hazardous. Renewable energy. Recent changes to post 2014 especially, that would allow windmills, solar energy. They're still all asked whether they want it. Recent polling, 1/4 of Ontarians would accept waste from another community. In short, the idea that no landfills would ever be approved in Ontario is nonsense. However, unless Ontario takes action, and soon, an issue will divide rural Ontario from Toronto even further. I had the opportunity when Bill 139 was created and opened up in Toronto. I went to Queen's Park. Bill 139, if councillors will remember, that is when the OMB was reduced its authority. I had the opportunity to go down and talk at Queen's Park, and I said, here's your opportunity. You want municipalities to have more control of their municipal affairs. You want them to take charge. Now is the time with Bill 139 to place within that bill that municipalities have the right to say yes or no to landfills. Certainly, I had complete support from the Conservative Party, complete support from the NDP, and actually a few Liberals. But the answer coming back was that Bill 139 was not the proper place to place that ruling, so it was dropped. I went to my MPP, Ernie Hardeman, at the time, and Ernie said, well, what are we going to do about this? And I said, well, how about a bill of some sort being brought forward by the Conservatives? So a private member's bill was created, and Ernie brought one forward, and it stated that municipalities should have the right to say yes or no. It went past first reading, it went past second reading, unanimously. And then the government fell for the purpose of an election, and it was dropped and had to be started all over again. Right now, with this motion that I've sent out to all municipalities across Ontario and visited, we have over 73 municipalities right now that have signed a motion and sent through to the minister that say that municipalities should have the right to say yes or no. 150 municipal leaders across the province have signed the petition pledge. Over 100,000 Ontarians have signed petitions on this issue. We have members such as Peel Region, York Region, Hamilton, all these folks in there supporting this motion. Before the election, I went to the municipal leaders that were running. And I asked them, will you support this motion? At that time, signed Doug Ford to Mayor Comiskey, quote, landfill should not be rammed down the throats of communities who have legitimate environmental concerns. It should be those on the ground who understand the ins and outs of the community, who should be making these decisions, not the bureaucrats or the rubber stamps in downtown Toronto. I am fully supportive of Ernie Hardeman's private member's bill, and if elected premier, I look forward to giving municipalities the voice in planning their decisions. Certainly, Premier Phillips in his last notes indicated that municipalities should have a greater say in landfills. What does a greater say mean? We have a say now because I went and said we didn't want it. I guess that was my say. A greater say would stand up and jump up and down and say, I don't want it. But is it being recognized that we have the right to say yes or no? How do we help? Well, passing the demand to right motion that you have in front of you. Write to the Minister Phillips and express your support. Call or meet with your local MPP. Discuss with your local media on social media, sorry. We have a responsibility to our constituents. As mayors and as councillors, we have a responsibility. The responsibility is to make sure what happens within your community is in the best and safe well-being of your people. 18 million ton of Toronto waste being deposited 800 meters from one of our subdivisions. We're only a population of 13,000. When you look at the idea that within 2 miles you're covering the whole town in the distance from this landfill. What is our responsibility? Our responsibility is to make sure, number one, that it is safe, and we understand that. But number two is to make sure that people are aware of the hazards of, you talked about this evening, Mayor, and that was the deposits of plastics going down drains, going into the lakes, our pollution that we're making. Well, landfills aren't like they used to be. I was born and raised on the farm. I quit milking cows when I was about 18. But we did some bad things. What we would do is take the tins and the bottles at the end of the year, and we would go to the back 40 and we would put them in a hole someplace, and we would try to forget about it. We did that. I remember doing that as a kid. But they were tin and glass. Not that it was the right thing to do, but we did it. But today you're not talking the same. The fabric that you're sitting in right now has likely more chemicals than you can possibly name, especially the foam on the inside. All these foams and plastics we're producing and the chemicals we're putting into everything, we're putting them in our landfills, and we're making a caustic soup that is down the few years from now, and none of us will have to worry about it, so don't be too concerned. It'll be your kids or it'll be your grandkids that are going to have to put up with the leachates that are either coming to the surface, going into the water system. And you say, but these things happen all the time. Landfills happen all the time. And you're right. And they shouldn't. There isn't a liner that doesn't leak. And where's the leachates going? It's contaminated soil and water. And where's it going? Into our lakes, into our rivers. I've run out of time, I know, and I thank you for being patient with me, with my time frame. I'm asking you to take a look at that motion, consider it, and to pass it, and to move it on to the ministry, and hopefully we can stop this from going any further. If you want a landfill, fine, that's your business. But for municipalities to have it dropped upon them without a say, yes or no, is not right. Premier Ford says it isn't right, so why aren't they moving on it? I need action. I need people to get behind me. I need people to bring it forward. I need people to talk to Mr. Phillips and say, we as municipalities in Southern Ontario or in Canada, we shouldn't be burying our waste. We should be giving people the right. I thank you very much, Council.
Thank you, and your passion certainly comes through in this. There might be some questions from council, so.
Most certainly.
Anyone have a question? Councillor Keith?
Well, it's more of a comment. I would suggest move that we put this on our next council agenda. And I do thank you for the presentation. Certainly some people have to come forward and speak up so that the rest of us are aware and get into action. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you very much for coming all this way. I know you have some friends here in the area, so anyway, thank you very much.
Don't hold that against me.
No, absolutely not. Anyway, thank you again, and safe travels when you head back, okay?
Thank you so much, Mayor, and thank you very much, council and people in the gallery.
Okay. Okay. Our next deputation is Christina Bossert. Oh, yeah, I was going to say, it doesn't look like Ian Spruill. Unless you got an alias. Welcome.
All right, I'm used to speaking to a large group, but usually they're a little more jumping around. So I wanted to say hello. My name is Christina Bossart, and actually I think there are a couple campers watching us, so they would know me as Stitch. I am the camp director at Hidden Bay Leadership Camp, and I'm here today to take the opportunity to officially introduce myself. We're a camp that's in the area, and we're grateful for a partnership that has come out of the last few months, and wanted to take this opportunity to say hello and thank you for the arrangement. So we actually have a couple of parents in the audience today, so this won't be any surprise to them, but Hidden Bay Leadership Camp is actually located on Lake Shubeshikong up in Carling, and we have both an overnight camp and a day camp. We welcome campers as young as 4, as long as they finish JK, right up through 16 in our counselor and training program. We began operating in the summer of 2000, which makes this year our 20th summer in operation, which is very exciting for us. And as I put together this presentation, I was looking for great photos that featured kids from our local area, so you may recognize some of the children in these photos. And just today, actually, Brad can tell you, I was headed into the BOCC to meet with him, and the young man in the red shirt called me out by name and ran over to say hi. So I'm very lucky to get to know all the children who attend our program quite well. And actually, another young man in this photo is going to be joining our staff this summer. He's a few years older than he looks here. So for our first couple of years, we were an overnight camp only, but in 2011, we launched our day camp program. Each week, we welcome 48 overnight campers and about 24 day campers. When I started in 2015, the spot was more like 12 because I am going into my 5th summer as the camp director. And in this year, we're launching a formal kinder camp program. So that's for our campers who are just completed junior or senior kindergarten to attend the program at a slightly lower ratio of staff to campers so that they're able to enjoy their day because their learning needs are a little bit different than our 12 and 13-year-olds. As well, we've tried to listen to the families in our area and provide what they're looking for. Initially, our day camp only ran from 8:30 to 4:30, but thanks to the requests of parents, we now offer before care starting as early as 7:15 and late care going as late as 5:45. So families have the opportunity to work in town and come and pick up their children out in Carling. As well, we do partner with the DSAB, so we are able to take childcare fee assistance in our programs, which makes it an option for families in the area. Currently, there are really 3 main options. Tapawingo if you have girls, the YMCA program out of the public school, and then us. We are a co-ed program, although the boys seem to really like posing for photos. And yes, the young man in the red shirt appears in about 4 photos because he really likes having his photo taken. And many of these campers, especially in our day camp program, will attend with us for 6 to 8 weeks of the summer. they'll come and join us every single day. So overall, I was looking through the numbers, and about 60% of our total camper population come from West Parry Sound, majority coming from the town of Parry Sound, but some coming mostly from Nobel and McDougall. We have some that come as far away as Dunchurch and Rosso, come daily to our program. Their parents do work in Parry Sound, so they make the very early trek. We had one Rosso parent who likes to drop off at 7:30 so she can make it to work. So, and our camp program is one where our camp philosophy is called KIRK, and some of our parents may have heard about KIRK before. It's an acronym that stands for courtesy, respect, responsibility, confidence, care, and compassion. Those are the values that we expect from everyone, and we feel those are foundational values of all leaders and of all great people. We expect that everyone from our youngest day camper, our 4-year-olds, right up through myself as the camp director, follow those values every single day in all we do. But camp is also about fun. So each day we have archery, canoeing, kayaking, arts and crafts. We have the lake right there that they do swimming in. We each day have, camp-wide games and campfires when there is not a fire ban. Myself and Carling Fire are very good friends, and we make sure to keep everyone safe, especially last summer with that ban in place. This photo here is actually a group of our campers of all ages working together to build a fire with a magnifying glass on the beach in a camp-wide race that they were competing against each other for on a theme day, actually. Some of our campers even take this learning home with them. This is a parent-sent photo of her child lighting fires with a magnifying glass in her front yard. He's put a little bit of, a little bit of lichen in a branch and has managed to set it on fire. Her children love doing this, always with supervision of some sort or another, so don't worry. But they are learning skills that are really valuable and transferable. Also, this child really, really wanted me to see this photo. So what I really wanted to say was we're really proud to be part of the Parry Sound community, staff members right down through our campers. And we're so thankful when we were approached by the town to partner with you on this March break camp. I've had a great experience working with the town staff. I've had the opportunity to, and we're really looking forward to March 11th. The plan is to take key pieces of the Hidden Bay program and bring them to the hub. So our campers that have attended with us before who will be there will recognize, we'll be doing our pond times and a bit of our Vespers, which doesn't mean anything if you haven't been there, but they're part of our camp routine, and doing some of our leadership activities, as well as traditional camp games and sports. We have extended the age range to include youth ages 8 to 15, again, in response to the needs of parents in the community. That's who they'd really like to have attending. So really, what I wanted to say was thank you. Again, we would love to have you or your children join us this summer or this March at any of our camps. And I just wanted to say hello and thank you. We've been a part of this community for many years, and I don't think we've ever come forward to speak to this body before, even though we serve a lot of members, a lot of your constituents. We do serve what they need. So if anyone has any questions or anything they'd like to ask while I'm here, I'd love to answer.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from council? Councilor Keith?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the presentation. I'm wondering, for example, this is going to be the first partnership with the town for the March break, and you said you'd love to have, a variety of age groups there, and I assumed up to age 15. So that means then somebody like me can't register for the program during that week, is that right?
Unfortunately, no.
Yeah.
We do get a lot of parents who on pickup and drop off day suggest they'd like to join us, and we love having folks there that love to contribute. For safety reasons, we don't have unidentified adults drop by our programs, but if you're in the area and you'd like to come say hi, we're always happy to show what we're doing.
I have one other follow-up to that, though. Seriously, will there be, again, some photos maybe? I realize with the appropriate permission, but that will be taken during the sessions so that afterwards we can see what a grand time and fun other people had when we couldn't come?
Absolutely. We'll make that a priority. It's part of our way of communicating with families is trying to get them some photos. Sometimes we're a bit busy, but I'll work on prioritizing that. And we'll share them, of course, through Brad and through the town channels.
Okay. Okay. More questions? No? Oh, sorry. Councillor Bachman.
Thank you again for your presentation. My kids have been very lucky, blessed to have participated in your programs over the years and definitely have gained many memories and, of course, valuable skills. I'm glad they weren't making fires in my backyard, but they enjoyed the canoeing and the leadership and just the camaraderie of that. And I'm really great to see, Brad, that there is a partnership with an organization such as this and that we can bring more awareness to yourself because it is a very valuable program through DSEP. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Good. Anything further? No? Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Anything else, Brad? Thank you. Thank you very much for your time.
So next are the reports, and we'll start with Councillor Borneman tonight.
Thank you, Your Worship. I've had a lighter couple of weeks. I've attended a few different meetings. The one of particular note was on February 12th at the airport. NOHFC announced funding in the amount of $495,000 to the commission. Mr. Miller was there to present us with a check. This money is to be used to clean and level additional building lots. The commission, as I've previously reported, have a number of parties interested. This project is pending approval of a matching grant from FedNor, which we are very much hoping to see in the near future. I want to thank my fellow commissioners, our staff, and our support team at Seguin, particularly Michelle Fraser, for making this happen. New jobs, new industry in the area is a win for the airport and a win for the community at large. The following night, the District Municipal Association took the school board's lead and canceled its meeting because of the weather. The rest of this is kind of an opinion and a commercial, I guess. I often sit and wonder whether or not the investments we make in community facilities are worthwhile. This past weekend wasn't one of those times. I want to thank April McNamara and her band for the work that they did on Winterfest. There were a number of activities in the area, and Mother Nature, despite Mr. Brown's protestations, actually cooperated with those programs. Saturday evening, the Hall Construction Pee Wee All-Stars evened their All-Ontario quarterfinal at the BOCC. Coach Dave Lomas has a real crackerjack little team on his hands. I think everyone should check the hockey club's website for the schedule and get out and support these kids as they march towards a championship. Sunday, Mike Murphy and his troop of volunteers held a mite tournament. I was down there through the day. There were a pile of young kids, parents and grandparents having loads of fun, and it was hard to tell which generation was more excited. So I think Mr. Murphy deserves a lot of thanks and kudos for the work that he's doing. Later that same evening, there was a full house at Kinsman Park for the Christmas tree bonfire. And yesterday, I couldn't really comment on the attendance, but we were going through hot dogs and hamburgers at record pace at the Family Day Skate, and I want to thank you for arranging this, Mr. Mayor. So again, congratulations to Ms. McNamara and her team, and I'll close this with an introductory commercial for Councillor McCann. Tomorrow evening at 6:30, the Flying Fathers are here in Parry Sound. It's a good cause, so I hope folks will get out and support that activity. And that's my report.
Great. Thank you. Councillor McCann?
Going counterclockwise tonight?
I'm going the right way.
Okay, all right. Okay. Well, Mr. Mayor and council and staff, people in the gallery, thank you, Councillor Borneman, for that plug. I'll talk about that in just a moment. I liked the schedule I've had over the last couple of weeks. Certainly been busy with some stuff. The museum on Tower Hill, just again, I want to remind folks that the GoFundMe challenge in hopes of reaching $5,000 to help put a model working railroad of the Ottawa, Arnprior, and Parry Sound Railway that challenge is still on. We're a little bit shy from where we'd like to be. We've got till the end of February to reach our $5,000 goal. So if you go on to the museum's website, the museumontowerhill.com, there's more information there and a link to the GoFundMe page. Charitable tax receipts are available upon request for donations over $25. And that installation is going into the E. Roy Smith Gallery, just in case you're wondering. So the Flying Fathers hockey, we started talking about this just before Christmas, and we've been getting very excited about it. As Councillor Borneman said, tomorrow night is the night. The Flying Fathers Triple H Challenge set to take place at the Bobby Orr Community Center. Now, the Knights of Columbus and Wabano Shrine Club and some extra locals have put the challenge to the Flying Fathers. We can take heart in the fact that the new Flying Fathers are on their inaugural tour, so it's kind of neat that we're involved with that. I will tell you that the rule book is out, but fun and entertainment, that's what it's all about. And of course, more importantly, raising money for Hospice West Parry Sound, Hope Pregnancy Support Center of Parry Sound, and the Habitat for Humanity Parry Sound chapter. So doors are open at 5:30. There will be food and refreshments upstairs, and then the puck drops at 6:30, and the tickets are $15 each for adults, $5 for children 3 to 12. And there's more information. In fact, there's a lot of information on our website, which is Flying Fathers Hockey in Parry Sound. And there's one regret we need to announce that unfortunately, due to circumstances beyond our control, we can't feature the Tykes. There were going to be 8 teams playing against each other in four games. That hasn't come together, so we're hoping we can have something else in place during the intermission. So that is tomorrow night, and I certainly hope you'll take the chance to get your tickets. For sports is where you can get them, and also at the door. And that's my report, and thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Backman?
Thank you. Through your mayor, I attended the Parry Sound Public Library Board meeting this morning. Due to lack of attendance quorum, it was rescheduled. The next meeting date is tentatively booked for April 12th, which is a change in the third Tuesday of the month due to people away on holidays. Besides that, I attended an all-day webinar from AMO on February 13th, which was focused on municipal forum on waste diversion. It was rather a lot of new information. It was very interesting, a lot of great speakers in attendance, and the minister. So it was great information for me, and I will pass along the slideshow resources to staff. And that's everything. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Keith?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, fellow councillors, staff, and public. I wanted to say, first of all, it's been kind of a light 2 weeks. However, I want to really say I appreciate all the effort Vladimir, our Economic Development Officer, put into the opportunity to be down at the Stocky Center to see a variety of what I would call wilderness, rough and tough, all-terrain type of vehicles that could go on the ice, and it was really interesting. I went and saw, for example, the Sharp vehicle, had my picture taken, and I will say I weathered, although I need to be dressed well, but I weathered the dirty weather that day, had my picture taken more than once, and I have to say, beside one of those vehicles, I looked like a little mite at the most. And it was interesting to see those vehicles go across the ice. It was a very fascinating and informative experience. I thought it was an opportunity for Parry Sound to be really, again, able to show what we have here in wintertime, our innovativeness, get a variety of interested operators to come up to the community. And the fact that they were there on such a crummy day said, hey, we really are interested in Parry Sound and we see the opportunity here. So I think it's an opportunity again for Parry Sound to boast, to say we're not only available in the nice weather, come to Parry Sound in the crummy weather, and this is where you can test out your vehicle. So that was a real fun experience. I do have to say though, I said to the representative, I understand these vehicles, they have a location where it's a plant at least further north that I am planned to go in nicer weather so I can step into the vehicle and maybe get myself a little run up on the rocks there if I'm a good talker or what. So I would like to see it now operate in the summertime. The other thing I would just say is I appreciated the opportunity we had this past weekend and Family Day and all the work that goes into it of town staff, and that's all part of our community. And actually it was a nicer day, but the last bottom line for me that I really appreciate is when you have the bonfire, because I like to keep my bones warm. So the bonfire is good for me, and thank you for the time.
Okay, thank you. Council staff and public, February 7th, I was in Toronto at Queen's Park for an MOU meeting. February 8th, as was mentioned, I attended the search and rescue event that was held at the Stocky Center. I must say that it was quite an experience to have a ride in the Sherp vehicle, to go in the water and back out again. That was extremely interesting, the way that machine works. Vlad, thank you very much for arranging the ride. It was great. Certainly a well-attended event on a very blustery day, as Councillor Keith mentioned. And again, a big thank you to Vlad, our EDO, the Felsmans, for being there and videotaping the whole thing, and everyone else that put the event together and the exhibitors. It was really, really good. And as Councillor Keith said, on a terrible, windy, snowy day, but it certainly proved those machines and their worth. February 14th was the District Social Services Board meeting, which was held in Sundridge. At the meeting, I was presented with a certificate from the DSAB recognizing my 15 years of service with the organization, and we passed the budget, which was a good thing. February 15th at 11 a.m. on behalf of AMO, I attended the Large Urban Mayors Caucus meeting in Guelph. Then February 15th at 6 p.m. I attended the Fisherman's Ball at the BOCC and presented a certificate to Jim McCubry congratulating him and his volunteers for 20 years of running the Fish Derby. That is a long haul for something that, and you know, there have been years when there has been absolutely no ice. So, I mean, but they keep going and they keep making it work somehow to have it happen. So, again, people in our community that try to do something, and all the fundraising goes to charity. So, February 17th, as was mentioned, the bonfire and fireworks at Kinsman Park. There was also tobogganing, skating, and a DJ. And I have to say, what a turnout for this event. There were a couple hundred people out there for sure, because people were parked right down the highway. The parking lot was full. And I have to thank April and Brad and the other town staff and our fire department for all their efforts. They were there starting the fire and there to put it out too if they needed to. So anyway, it was good. And certainly also thank you to the Kinsman Club and Tim Hortons and any other sponsors that were involved. February 18th was the Family Day Snowfest event at the BOCC, and this was another extremely well-attended event. It was skating, games, a petting zoo, barbecue and coffee, hot chocolate, and Timbits, and this was all free for the many that were in attendance. I have to thank my wife, Allie, Councillor Borneman, Councillor Burden, Howard Wesley for their volunteer efforts, and also to our town staff, Brad, April, and Samantha. And I certainly also want to thank Tim Hortons for their great support, and also Harry's No Frills. So really, I'd like to thank everyone for their efforts over the long weekend in helping to make a weekend that people were able to get out and enjoy themselves in all the different Snowfest activities, and the people that came out to take part. We really do appreciate it. When some people wonder and say, you know, there needs to be more done, there is quite a bit that is done in this community and the area. And, you know, people put a lot of effort into what they do to try so that people can have a good time. So just thank you to everyone, and we just keep building on what we have. Also, remember, it was mentioned the Flying Fathers, February 20th. And this weekend is the 2-4 curling event at the Curling Club, which is a fundraiser for veterans. And that's my report. So this is item 7.1, which is moved from the closed session. And it was moved by Councillor McCann and seconded by Councillor Borneman that Council appoints the following to the Downtown Business Association DBA Board of Management for the term ending November 22nd, 2022, or until their successors are appointed. Thomas Clark, Tanis Mack, Bernice Anderson, Sean Megacy, Amy Black, Dan DiNicolo, Karen Hobson, Sue Sullivan, and David Coles. Any discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. Congratulations to them all. Well, this is true. So this is just direction. So, okay, so I need a mover and seconder for this. Councillor Borneman, Councillor Keith. That council directs staff to advise the Township of Seguin that Parry Sound Council is generally supportive of Regional Economic Development Initiative and requests that 1. The property be rezoned to a site-specific zoning category rather than a general C3 zone that only permits the requested uses. 2. Outlet retail uses be defined to ensure that they are not uses which would be more suitably located within the town of Parry Sound as per section 1 of the PPS, or which would negatively impact the vitality and viability of the Parry Sound downtown. Example, beer, liquor stores, banks, or boutique retail uses. Innovative technology type uses be specifically defined in a manner which ensures they are not uses which compete with the Seguin Airport Industrial Park in which the town is a partner, which would be more suitably located in a service settlement area or negatively impact the environment. 4. The zoning bylaw amendment specifically note that the municipal water and sewer services will not be provided to the subject property unless the property becomes part of the town of Parry Sound. This is to ensure that the natural environment is protected and that any potential developer does not have the expectations about the extension of town of Parry Sound municipal services. 5. The appropriate studies are undertaken and implemented to ensure the protection of the natural environment, which includes the northerly water body Anderson Lake, which is partially within the town of Parry Sound, or the property be split zoned to ensure these commercial uses do not have a negative impact upon the waterfront's features and functions. And 6, the Township of Seguin provide a notice of decision to the clerk of the town of Parry Sound Discussion. Councillor Keith.
Perhaps Mr. Elgie can come to the floor and explain what we're trying to do here, and also can he advise what the acronym PPS stands for, please?
Through your worship, sorry for the length of the direction as well. PPS stands for Provincial Policy Statement. This is going to the Planning Department of Sequence, so apologize for the vernacular. This report is a carryover from the last council meeting. There were some questions that we didn't have the answer for at the time. Specifically, it relates to outlet retail and innovative technology type uses. So we brought it back in its entirety to council with also the requested amendments that the only way services would ever be extended to this property is if the property were become part of the town of Parry Sound.
Any further questions? Councillor McCann.
Yes, I'm just wondering here. I guess Mr. Taylor, you could tell me. With Seguin having its own municipality, its own sovereign, I suppose, we with what we're asking here, what kind of weight does this hold? If Seguin Township zones the thing accordingly, and something comes in there that we don't like, or doesn't zone it the way we want it to, do we have some sort of means to appeal that? Like, I guess I'm just wondering how much weight, this is what we want, but how much weight is in this document?
Through your worship, provided this direction is passed, this has quite significant weight to it. The notice was circulated to town of Parry Sound as a planning act regulation. So the town being within X distance gets circulated. If this is sent to Seguin, this ensures the town has appeal rights. So there is significant weight to this document.
Thank you.
Anything further? Seeing none, all in favor? And that's carried. At the top, there wasn't much room left at the bottom. Okay. Okay, I need a mover and seconder for 931. Councillor McCann, Councillor Backman. That staff be directed to implement remuneration increases of elected officials retroactive to January 1st, 2019, as recommended in this report and consistent with Council's direction as set out in bylaw 2015-6554. Discussion. Councillor Keith and then Councillor McCann.
I would like to move that these directions be postponed to the next council meeting. My rationale for that is I think there's some really important issues here, and I feel more comfortable if there was a full council at the table to discuss this. So I'm asking for a postponement.
That's second by Councillor Borneman. Is that this direction or all the others?
All three on 9.3.1, please.
Okay. All right. All in favor? It's postponed. To the March 5th meeting. Item 932, moved by Councillor Keith, seconded by Councillor Backman, that the Bobby Orr Hall of Fame gift shop renovation budget of $50,000 be approved and the required funds be withdrawn from the Bobby Orr Hall of Fame Special Projects Reserve Fund. Discussion? Councillor Borneman?
Well, I see Ms. Dyer made the effort to come tonight, so I think she should be given the opportunity to tell us what she's up to here.
Welcome.
Thank you, through you, your worship. So the purpose of this renovation is to really maximize the space within our gift shop. It's looking a bit dated, and it's also challenging from a merchandising perspective of being able to showcase the merchandise that we have, make it stand out, make people want to walk through it and browse. It's one of the ways that we keep this under financially viable. So by increasing this, we hope to further improve the financial health of the building.
Sorry, Councilor McCann.
Thank you. I'm curious, how are the online sales doing for the gift shop? Are they, how would they compare to the floor sales? And then I have a follow-up.
Through you, your worship. I would say at the moment, online sales make up about 10 to 15% of our annual revenue through the gift shop sales. It's definitely increased since we had a new website designed last year, which made online sales easier and a little bit more friendly to the user. So we hope to continue growing that section of our gift shop business, but primarily we see in-person sales as being the majority.
And then the second question was then, with what you want to do, this looks very, very impressive. I'm asking what the timeline is, and had you noticed congestion, like people having a hard time getting around to see, like what? I see what your goals are, but is this something you've observed with customers coming in and their behavior in the store?
Yes, definitely. When you get more than 2 to 3 people within that space, it becomes very cramped. It's difficult to navigate your way around the merchandise, and what we're finding is that so many of the existing display units we have are at the same level. So once you're in there, you're sort of lost in a sea. It's really difficult to see all the merchandise, and it's, I guess it's more difficult to find something if you're looking for the right item. Even myself, when I go down there, I know I'm looking for a particular t-shirt or sweatshirt that I know that we have, but it takes me more time than I think it should to find it when I know the layout of the store and what we carry. Yeah, so the timeline, we hope to go to tender as soon as possible. And once the tender documents have been, put out and people have the chance to submit, I'm told that the cabinetry is the most intensive part of that, which will take about 8 weeks to actually manufacture, and theoretically 2 to 3 weeks of actual construction on site.
Thanks very much.
Any further questions? Councillor Keith?
I'm sure it's a very simple question, but I see these cabinets are going to all be on rollers, and I would assume that means depending on the type of display, if you're changing it, you can move the cabinets around. The simple question, though, is are they locking rollers so that if they stay in a spot and that's where they are, they have that ability to lock?
Yes, they will be locking rollers.
Anything else? Nope. All in favor? That's carried. Sorry, what? Oh, right there. Okay. Okay, next is the Economic Development Report. And we have, are you all set up there, Vlad? Okay. Ready anytime you are.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, councillors, staff, and public. The purpose of my presentation tonight is to provide you with a snapshot of activities that I undertook as Economic Development Officer for the town of Parry last year. As I joined the town in July, the presentation will only cover 6 months from July through December of 2018. And my first slide summarizes my first steps upon arrival here in July. As I was new to town and area, I had to quickly familiarize myself with the business environment, economic development opportunities and challenges, and also meet with the local economic development champions and stakeholders. So I met with the representatives of various provincial and federal funding organizations, namely FEDNOR, NOHFC, ION, CBDC, among others, and I also met and established a good working relationship with the Economic Development Officer of West Parry Sound Economic Development Collaborative, as the town is a member of this organization, and I also met with the Executive Director of the local Chamber of Commerce, along with several representatives of local business community, mostly business owners of retail outlets in downtown, but also some manufacturing companies in and around town, as well as 3 food processors. I visited both industrial parks in the area, as again the town is involved with both. I learned about waterfront and downtown, specifically waterfront, as its development is one of the key initiatives indicated in the Parry Sound strategic plan. Finally, I met with the administrator of the local Canada College campus, as I had several couple youth attraction projects started with Canada College up in North Bay when I worked there as business development officer. So I wanted to learn about local programs offered by Canada College here in Parry Sound. So after my first 4 or 5 weeks, I had a fairly good understanding of local economy, and I started with some of initiatives focused on economic development. So this slide covers steps that I undertook between August and December. Business retention and expansion is a very important component of any economic development officer. So I met with 18 local firms. I visited their businesses. I learned about their operations and future plans, and I assisted 2 companies with the preparation and filing of funding applications with NOHFC for business expansion, and I also helped 1 local food processor with the locating new supplies from Europe, and I have just heard today that he met with those suppliers face to face at a trade show in Germany that finished on Sunday. I also attended 6 investment conferences and trade shows in Ontario to promote Parry Sound assets, but more importantly, together with the Economic Development Office of the West Parry Sound Economic Development Collaborative and with the local chamber, we together created the first ever On the Space and Parry Sound farm tour in September. I brought 9 companies to that event from the GTA, but also a couple international from the USA, China, and Ukraine. The event was so successful that I decided to replicate the format and organize 2 more similar farm tours, both in November. As a result of this particular initiative, 3 business attraction projects were initiated, and I would expand on this on my next slide. Innovation attraction is also a very important component of any economic development for any jurisdiction. So I used my connections and organized presentation of Passive Dome, which is a new, very innovative startup. They manufacture fully autonomous houses using 3D printing technology. The company is based in Reno, Nevada, and the owner of the company traveled to Parry Sound to do his first ever Canadian presentation in September. Cruise industry, well, tourism is very important to this town and area, as you all know. So I worked with the management of Great Lakes Cruising Coalition, and again, the town is a member of this organization, and I provided them with various information about attractions, tours, etc., available in the area. So I hope that helped to attract a new cruise operator to town. This one is from France, and they will have their first 2 stops in September and October, and hopefully, if everything goes well, they will expand their itinerary for next year. Last but not least, I met several times with Peter Istvan, the administrator of the local Canada College campus. We discussed several potential projects, but decided to focus on one in particular, and that's a creation of creation of international pilot school in collaboration with the local airport and with support from the top management of Canada College in North Bay. Right now, we are awaiting the new provincial budget to be announced in March, and at that time, I will revisit this project with George Burton, the president of Canada College, who is in general very supportive of this idea. As I just mentioned, on my next slide, there is a table, as you can see, which with three business attraction projects. This is a fairly straightforward table, so I will not go into details describing every project, but I do want to stop for a second on the second one, especially as the company was already mentioned very positively. Thank you very much today. That's Sharp ATV. Sharp is the manufacturer of the most powerful all-terrain vehicles in the world. Currently, the company is located in Kiev, Ukraine. They ship semi-assembled vehicles to Manitoba, where they have a sales office, and they do final assembly and then sell the units in North America to Canadian and US customers. So they visited us several times, and as you can see now, we have expectations that they will move their they will establish their North American production site in the town of Parry Sound before the end of this year. All in all, these 3 projects should bring around 50 full-time jobs and result in at least $8.5 million in direct investment to the local economy. And on a couple of my last slides, I just want to show a few pictures from the events that happened last fall, just for all of you to get a better idea what those events entailed. First one is a photo from the Passive Dome presentation at Canada College. You may see Mr. Maxime Gerbot, who is the founder and CEO of the company, presenting to local audience. We had 20 plus attendees, which was pretty good. Mr. Gerbert liked the town, the various incentives and funding opportunities offered to new businesses. In fact, he decided to extend his stay here in town for a couple more days to be able to participate in the Own the Space in Parry Sound event. And upon his return to Nevada, he informed us that he would like to set up a manufacturing facility for his Canadian operations here in town, probably next year, that is in 2020. Next photo is from the first On the Space and Parry Sound farm tour. It was made at the airport. In the middle of the group, you may see, I think you can see a young guy with a dark jacket, and he has a Sharp logo. That is the sales manager for Sharp Canada, and that was his first visit to Parry Sound. And as I mentioned, after that visit, he brought his equipment and his personnel several more times to the area, and now we're looking into potentially hosting their production facility in our town. This is another photo of a farm tour. This time we hosted Canada-Poland Chamber of Commerce. There were 5 business owners from the GTA. The photo was taken at North Brewery in the Industrial Business Park. North Brewery is one of those companies that I mentioned that I helped prepare and file an OHFC funding application for their business expansion project. Next photo is from the same trip, from the same farm tour, but that was their last stop at the municipal airport. At one of the businesses located there, the person to the right with camera and orange jacket is actually the president of Canada-Poland Chamber of Commerce, and he was so impressed with what they saw and the organization of the tour that he promised to bring a much larger delegation of investors from Poland to Parry Sound in May of this year. And finally, my last 2 slides. This is the last farm tour which we hosted in collaboration with CERBA, Canada Eurasia Business Association out of Toronto. They brought 9 company owners, mostly construction companies and developers from GTA, but also from Mongolia, Kazakhstan, and Kyrgyzstan. On that tour, we visited several businesses in and around the town, and on this particular slide, you can see us at Air Ride Hovercraft International. The company owner, Mr. Swanson himself, welcomed the guests and offered to show the plant, which impressed the visitors very much. And actually after the visit, 2 company owners from Bishkek, which is capital of Kyrgyzstan, they decided to look into investment opportunities in our area, specifically in residential construction, and they will visit our housing summit, which we plan to conduct in Parry Sound end of April. So this concludes my presentation. Thank you for your attention.
Well, thank you. You've been a whirlwind of activity, and I want to say that we do appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions from council? Yes, Councillor Bachman.
Thank you, Vlad, for your presentation, through your mayor. Thank you, Vlad, for your presentation this evening. I just had a question in regard to the conferences that you attended and trade shows. Did the town of Parry Sound actually have a physical booth at these trade shows?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Well, no, but this is a very good question. I think at some of specifically investment conferences, it would be appropriate to have a small presence as a booth with information materials, and I will make a note to participate in 1 or 2 such events with a booth, with Parry Sound booth. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Keith?
Thank you. Well, it's along the same line. So when you would go to a show like this, are you wearing anything that is significant that shows from Parry Sound, a pin, a jacket, any sort of logo? Is there anything that when one sees you, they see right away Parry Sound kind of jumps out at them, you know, the subliminal message?
Well, through you, Mr. Mayor, I do have a lapel pin and I wear it at all times at trade shows and such events. But I do bring booklets and other information materials about the town and obviously, you see, I don't just go to these events. I usually make pre-arranged meetings with the persons, companies of interests at those events, and when we have meetings with them, we exchange. I provide various information about the town to them.
Yep.
One follow-up. When I was down at the Stocky Center for the presentation where the SHERP vehicle was there, I noticed on the front table there was a box, and it seemed like there was maybe memory sticks of Parry Sound besides of brochures. Was that correct? I was snooping a little bit.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor. Excellent point. Yes, I forgot. Sorry. We do have USB sticks with a video of Parry Sound, an area that provides information not just about the nature and the town, but also several industries available and operational in town. Yes. Thank you.
Good. Councillor Borneman.
Well, having watched Vlad in action a little bit, he does like to fly just on the radar, not too high above or too far below. Vlad, you know, you've had a ton of people through the area. Are you getting feedback with respect to gaps or things that are missing that would seal the deal as far as bringing some of these investors to the community?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Another very good question. I didn't put it, I didn't mention it openly in my presentation, but on the one hand, there is a strong interest from companies from out of town, from the GTA area and also international, to invest, to come and set up production, their businesses in Northern Ontario and specifically in Parry Sound and area. In most cases, they're very interested to participate in these grant and funding opportunities provided by, in particular, NOHFC. Unfortunately, in many cases, it takes a lot of time for NOHFC to process those funding applications, specifically, on average, between 6 and 8 months. For small and medium-sized businesses, this is oftentimes too long of a wait. So obviously this is beyond our control. NOHFC is part of a provincial ministry, as you know, but if you could somehow influence the ministry to speed up processing applications, and not only applications for Parry Sound, obviously, but for Northern Ontario in general, I think this would improve the investment climate in Northern Ontario significantly. Thank you.
That was okay. I was just mentioning to Mr. Harris that maybe we need a resolution or something that would bring it to the government's attention that we have people that are interested in doing things and investing money that, you know, need that little bit of a kickstart boost, whatever, that NOHFC can provide, and that maybe their process can be sped up a little bit. Yes, Mr. Harris.
Yeah, staff would be happy to bring back a resolution to the next meeting. We have had discussions, though, with staff at the NHOFC, and there are some some challenges in terms of how you structure that, that resolution, so we'd want to have some time to work on it. And the timing is an issue that we also put when the province asked for the town's comments on the budget and how to improve efficiencies. We'd included commentary about the length of time it takes to approve applications. So they are aware through one channel, but it doesn't hurt to send it in another form.
It's good. They're all about cutting red tape, so, Councillor Borneman.
Well, I would just say that, you know, over the years, both at the industrial park and the airport, we tend to make applications to both NOHFC and FedNor simultaneously, and the same thing applies to the feds. You know, this latest application at the airport, we had a relatively new provincial government, and they've beaten the federal government to the punch in approving this. One would have thought that wouldn't be the case.
Okay. Anything further? Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Okay. 941. Okay. Moved by Councillor Backman, second by Councillor Keith, that the 2018 statement of remuneration paid to council and appointed board members attached to Schedule A be accepted. Any discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. That's it? Oh, geez. Moved by Councillor McCann, second by Councillor Borneman, that bylaw number 2019-6896, being a bylaw to authorize the borrowing upon amortizing debentures in the principal amount of $4,585,451.59 towards the cost of the reconstruction of William Street with drainage improvements and reconstruction of Emily Street be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor McCann, second by Councillor Borneman, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Any discussion? Councillor Keith?
Yes, one quick question for Ms. Gilbert. I'd just like to know, is that the best interest rate we can get? Is that the lowest we can get? Been checking it out?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I did inherit the debenture partway through. I believe that it is a very competitive interest rate. I do believe that Infrastructure Ontario is one of the better routes and options for a municipality, and that they do provide a fairly good interest rate. If you look at the interest rates that are out there right now, it is lower than the current prime rate. So I would hazard a guess that it is going to be a good rate for us.
Okay. Anything further? All in favor? And that's carried. Moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Backman, that bylaw number 2019-6897, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council, be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor Keith, seconded by Councillor Backman, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. All in favor? And that's carried. So, prior to adjourning, I'd like to offer the following information to the public regarding the next council meeting. The next regular meeting of council for the town of Parry Sound is scheduled to take place at 52 Seguin Street in the council chambers located on the top floor. Public access to the building is off Gibson Street. The next regular meeting of council is Tuesday, March 5th, 2019. All regular council meetings are held at 7 p.m. on the first and third Tuesday of each month, except January and August, where only one regular meeting is scheduled. Regular and special meetings are now live streamed. Please check news and public notices on our website at www.parrysound.ca for instructions to watch live or to see earlier council meetings. Agendas, changes to the council meeting schedule, and notices of special council meetings will be posted on the town's website at www.parrysound.ca under news and public notices prior to a council meeting. The public is able to view an electronic copy of the complete agenda with attachments on the town's website. Just search council calendar and the date of the meeting. Should you wish to receive the combined agenda via email, you may make that request on our website or contact the clerk at the municipal office. The meeting minutes of the council meetings will be posted within 2 days after the council meeting on the town's website and on the bulletin board located in the municipal office entrance. Your TV will continue to air the regular Parry Sound Council meetings on Saturday at 9:30 a.m. following a regular council meeting. For Cogeco listings, contact www.yourtv.tv. And thank you, everyone, and have a good night.